What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including the Big Show signing with AEW. The Mrs. Cash-in may have been invalid. WWE drops a major storyline. Jon Moxley wants this WWE star in AEW, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now let's hit the intro and get straight into the first story. Now, our first story, and it's the big one, is that The Big Show has now signed with AEW. As major news as The Big Show has joined All Elite Wrestling, the company released the news that Paul White is All Elite, with the former Big Show commenting, "It's been amazing to watch what AEW has built in just a couple of years. AEW Dark is an incredible platform to hone the skills of upcoming wrestlers, but I also love that established AEW talent can build out their personalities and showcase themselves in new ways on Dark. It's no exaggeration when they say AEW is boundless." According to Wrestling Inc.'s Mark Middleton, AEW announced today that Paul White has joined the company, signing a long-term contract. White will serve as commentator for AEW's newest show on YouTube, AEW Dark Elevation. Elevation will air on Mondays at 7 PM Eastern Time, complementing the weekly AEW Dark show that airs on Tuesdays at 7 PM Eastern Time. WrestleVote stressed the importance of the move, noting, "I don't have anything insider to add to the Paul White AEW signing news, except for the fact that the line of communication is open and all are listening to offers when it's time for new contracts. The news should hammer that home. Everyone listens." Everyone. Now, fans were curious when the Big Show's WWE profile was moved over to the alumni section, and it wasn't clear why, but up until now. Whatever the case, this is huge, as they could now be doing Big Show vs. Shaq. What are your thoughts on the Big Show moving over to AEW? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, was John Cena upset about losing to The Rock? Well, that's what former WWE referee Mike Chioda thinks, as Chioda recently spoke on the Monday Mailbag podcast, discussing the circumstances behind the most electrifying man in sports entertainment's epic clash with Cena, including how The Rock got him to referee the historic matchup. "I've always admired The Rock over the years in working with him, and then The Rock set me up to be the referee for that match when he came back with Cena." Chioda went on to note, "I think Cena had a little bit of a problem doing the job, as here is Cena, carrying the torch for the last 10 years I think at the time, and he was busting his ass day in day out. And here comes The Rock back after so many years of being in Hollywood, and he's got to job out to The Rock? Well, of course, the show is in Miami. The Rock is a big Hollywood superstar now, and I think there was a little heat there. I think there was a little dissension, but you gotta go where that money goes. I mean, they put The Rock over, and I was happy about that. I was like, yeah, you know." Fans will forever remember the series between The Rock and John Cena at WrestleManias 28 and 29, two dream matches that made the WWE a lot of money due to the fans' immense interest in seeing two of the WWE's biggest names of all time do battle. Now, keep in mind this is Chioda's recollection of what happened, but if true, it raises questions about Cena's willingness to do what's best for business. While Cena may have not been happy about counting the lights for The Rock in their first Mania match, it set the stage for their second match, and by that point in his career, Cena should have known the importance of losing a match to build to an even bigger one. Sadly, that wasn't the case then, or when Cena refused to lose to the Nexus at 2010 SummerSlam. Next up, the Ric Flair-Lacey Evans storyline done? The storyline of Ric Flair becoming Lacey Evans' mentor and baby daddy appears to be over, based on a backstage segment during the 22nd February Raw. Flair had been helping Evans during a program against Charlotte Flair, but Lacey's real-life pregnancy announcement threw the proverbial monkey wrench in the works. Although Slick Rick hinted that he might be the father of Lacey's baby, he made it clear to daughter Charlotte that he's not, and that the only reason he's been helping Evans is because he sees plenty of potential in wrestling sassy Southern Belle. Charlotte told Flair to go home because when I'm in the ring, I'm not trying to be Ric Flair's daughter, I'm trying to be Charlotte Flair. Some wrestling pundits such as Wrestling Inc.'s Cy Mohan think this could lead to Rick and Lacey disappearing from television for the time being. Now, the WWE is known for dropping storylines without mention, so it's encouraging to see them put some effort into wrapping up an odd but fun storyline. For now though, it looks like Charlotte will begin a feud with Raw Women's Champion Asuka, as the two have appeared to have a falling out on this week's Raw. Of course, look for Charlotte to take the belt soon. Next up, Asuka loses a tooth. Speaking of the Empress of Tomorrow, Asuka looked like she got run over by a rhinoceros on the 22nd February Raw when Shayna Baszler booted her in the face. Apparently the kick connected more than Baszler wanted to, and PW Insider's Mike Johnson is reporting she did indeed get legitimately walloped in the face. Asuka was checked by WWE Medical after returning backstage, and it was announced on Raw Talk that she lost a tooth from the kick. We are told that is legitimate. We have not been able to confirm yet whether she was diagnosed with another injury beyond losing her tooth. Hopefully Shayna Baszler isn't going to get sloppy in the ring like her tag team partner Nia Jax, or they'll need to start calling up NXT superstars for Raw's women's division. Next up, the Retribution splitting up. It looks like the WWE Universe won't have Retribution left to do the JOB on Raw much longer. They've been teasing leader Mustafa Ali's growing dissatisfaction with his underlings' performances, and things seem to implode on Raw this week after Retribution members Mace and T-Bar dropped a match to the New Day. Meltzer commented on the situation during an episode of Wrestling Observer Radio. They may be done. They may be splitting that whole group up the way it looked tonight. I wouldn't be surprised. It's not like this group has caught fire or anything. Despite a promising start, the Red Brand's would-be rogue faction has been booked badly, with fans giving no reason to get behind the group or think they posed a threat to the WWE superstars. This could have been a good way for Mustafa Ali to break out, as well as for the group's members to springboard from NXT into a solid spot on Raw. Instead, it's another example of a good idea gone bad, not because the concept is flawed, but due to the lack of consistent effort in booking it. Unless the WWE's idea was to bury the group, in which case they were very consistent in doing so. Next up, Jon Moxley would love to see this WWE superstar in AEW. Jon Moxley is familiar with many of the WWE superstars, both as a fan and as someone who's worked in the promotion for several years. Moxley recently spoke with Inside the Ropes' Gary Cassidy about who he'd like to see in AEW and why. I'll tell you a guy I'd like to see here is Christian. I don't know if that was a one-off for him in the Royal Rumble, but he looked friggin' good to me. Looked like he was in great shape. He looked sharp, man. I tell you, he's one of the guys that the wrestlers know it more so than anybody. Christian is so good. Like, his brain and his execution and his mind for wrestling is just next level. Moxley went on to talk about why AEW would be the right fit for the 47-year-old grappler. The things that he could do with the wrestlers in AEW and all the creative freedom, but taking things, but there's no hindrance on anything creatively here. Obviously we're having a friggin' exploding deathmatch, so the things Christian could do at AEW, I would be extremely excited to see that. That would be my #1 dream guy. It's unknown if Christian has any sort of contract with the WWE, but in light of the Big Show's recent move, Vince McMahon may want to lock more legends to long-term deals to prevent them showing up in AEW. And finally, is The Miz's win invalid? Last but not least, some fans have been discussing an intriguing situation involving WWE superstar Otis and the Money in the Bank contract. As fans know, Otis lost his briefcase to The Miz, who successfully cashed it in against Drew McIntyre Elimination Chamber. However, fans may also remember that the big man kept the contract in his lunchbox. Does this mean Otis has a contract he's just waiting to cash in on someone like, say, The Miz? We think it's a fun theory, but one the WWE is unlikely to pursue, mainly because they probably forgot about it. But what do you think of this possibility? Let us know in the comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.